Hi everyone, it's Miss Black here, and I'm going to talk to you guys about how to rotate a shape on a coordinate plane. So here are the steps. We're going to go over them in class. So you're going to see me referring to these steps if you wanted to come back to them. I'm going to show you a coordinate plane right now, and we're just going to talk about a few things about the coordinate plane, and then we're going to actually rotate a shape. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do it, and I'm going to do some examples with you. Okay, so here's my coordinate plane. The center part right here is the origin. And for the purposes of 8th grade in our class, that's where we're always gonna rotate from. So we're always gonna rotate from the origin. Okay, so if I had a triangle, I'm just gonna make it a right triangle on the coordinate plane. Okay, there's a right triangle on the coordinate plane. You guys are going to use your patty paper. You should have got 10 sheets when you picked it up from school. You're going to use your patty paper to start off, and you're going to actually trace the shape. I'm going to make sure that the coordinates are nice and dark. I'm using a pen, but you could easily use a pencil. It's just, it doesn't show up very well in the video, so I'm definitely using a red pen so that you can see it clearly. Okay. So I'm gonna put my patty paper on top, okay? I want to make sure that my patty paper covers, the origin needs to be on the patty paper, okay? So I'm gonna start off by tracing the shape, just so you guys can see it. And I'm gonna make sure that my vertices are really dark so you can see them. Then I'm going to place a cross over the origin and each of the axes. So I'm making like a mini axis. Okay, so there's my shape, and there is where the origin would be the cross of those 2 points. Okay, because that's important. And then just to help me out, I'm actually going to put an up arrow right here, and that's actually going to tell me where I was originally. So like, for instance, I'm going to rotate with the center being the origin. So I'm actually going to take my pen. If I wanted to rotate this shape 90 degrees clockwise, I would take it and I would turn it until the arrow points directly to the right. Okay, if I wanted to rotate it 180 degrees, I would take it and the arrow would point down. So it's really easy to line up the arrow. And then if I wanted to rotate it 270, the arrow would point to the left. And if I wanted to rotate it 360, the arrow would point back up to where I started. How do you know where you started from? The arrow is always pointing up when you start, okay? So say for instance, I wanted to rotate this 90 degrees clockwise. I would rotate it. And I kind of lost track of that, so I'm going to put my pen back and do it again. I'm going to rotate it here, and the arrow is going to point directly to the right. Now, I'm going to just kind of press down on my paper, and now my pen's running out of ink. Great. I'm going to press down on my paper. I have a good idea of where it is, and actually went through the paper just a little bit. Okay? So that is my rotated shape. Okay, that's the basics of what we're doing here today. So I'm going to do a couple more examples with you guys on a worksheet just so you get the idea of it. All right, take my patty paper and I'm going to get my worksheet here. I'm going to start with, let me start with number 5 because it's a triangle. Okay. It wants us to rotate it 90 degrees clockwise about the origin. Okay, 90 degrees clockwise about the origin. Let me just organize my paper here. 90 degrees clockwise about the origin. So I'm going to take my paper. Okay. I need to trace my shape, and I need to make sure that my origin fits on my tracing paper. Okay, so I'm going to take, please work, pen. Okay, so my origin, okay, facing upwards. Okay, and now I'm also going to trace my shape, and I'm also going to label it V K, J. I'm gonna darken the vertices because those are kind of like the most important thing, and the other part I'm just gonna, okay. All right, I put my pen at the origin because that is my center of rotation. And I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees clockwise about the origin, which means that my arrow is going to point directly to the right on the x-axis. Okay? All right, my rotation has taken place. Now, I just want to kind of like darken the vertices so I kind of know where I was. And I'm just gonna lift up my paper and kind of draw them on. So like I know the K was there, and I know that J was right here. Okay, so I'm gonna pull my paper off and then I'm just gonna label it because I know that this is gonna be V prime, this is gonna be K prime, this is going to be J prime. And I just connect the points. It's not perfect because I'm not using a ruler or anything like that, but that is a rotation of 90 degrees clockwise about the origin. All right. Let's do another one. That's 180. Okay. Let's do this one, number 2. Okay, rotation of 180 degrees about the origin. Notice they don't tell us which direction. There's a really good reason for that. The reason is it doesn't matter. If you go clockwise or counterclockwise, 180 is a complete opposite, so it doesn't matter which way you go. And I'll show you that in just a second. Okay, so I'm gonna take my caddy paper. I'm gonna make sure I can fit my shape and I can also fit the origin. So I place it so I can fit my shape and also the origin and the entire grid there. Start by putting an arrow on the origin. All right. And then I'm gonna trace my shape. Definitely darken the vertices. This is V, Y, R, J. And then I'm just gonna connect them so I can get a good idea of where I'm at. It's not perfect. All right, I'm gonna put my pen at the origin and I'm gonna do 180 degree. I'm gonna do a clockwise turn just to show you. So that would be 90, this would be 180. That's a clockwise turn. Okay, so I'm gonna go back. Whoop. Okay, now I'm gonna go a 180 degree the other direction. So that's 90, that's 180. Okay, same exact spot. Same exact spot. I know it's not perfect, but I can tell where it's supposed to be, so I'm just gonna take the paper off and I'm gonna darken in my vertices. I know that R's here and Y's here. Then I connect them and then I'm gonna label them so that I know what happened there. All right, so this is V prime, J prime, R prime, Y prime. Okay, that's 180 degree rotation. All right. All right, let's do one more. Let's do this one because it's kind of tough, just so you can get the idea. So I'm gonna take my trace paper. The interesting thing about this shape is that it's actually in all 4 quadrants, so that when you turn it, it's still gonna be in all 4 quadrants, so it's kind of hard to like imagine where it's gonna go. So it's 180 degrees, so it doesn't matter which way you go, clockwise or counterclockwise. The origin is in the center, so it's on the shape. Okay, and then I'm gonna trace my vertices. This is P, F, N, K. I connect them. Okay, 180 degrees clockwise. So it doesn't matter which way I go, the arrow is gonna be facing down. So that's 90, this is 180. All right, I've got my rotation, so I just lift, and I know this is F prime. This is gonna be P prime. This is gonna be K prime, and this is going to be, what do I have left? N, N prime. N prime is gonna be right here. Okay, so I take this off, then I connect them. I know it's not perfect. So it's gonna overlap the original because our center of rotation was on the original shape. So it's turning onto itself, basically. Okay, so there's some examples of how to use your patty paper. You should have got 10 sheets when you came through to pick up all your materials. And there's an example of how to do rotations with patty paper. Some key points is you want to keep, make sure you put your arrow, make sure you use your pen on the rotation on the origin, and make sure that your vertices are darkened and that you label your vertices as you go. Okay,